Okay, now we're back to the commentary on this series. So, for the next fight, after that whole Earthworm Jim versus Buster Con, we have Kirby versus Dr. Eggman. So, Kirby with his friends, there's Tuff, there's Tiff, and Lola, who have washed to the shore of a mysterious island. But turns out the island is owned by Dr. Eggman. Hold on, I'm gonna skip this part just to be safe. Okay, if you wonder why I skipped it, because many times I try to make a commentary on this, because this whole scene I had to skip has been giving me copyright claims for some reason, so I had to be safe. Although the question, I don't know why Kirby was jumping up and down like, oh boy, a giant fan! Which is kind of weird. So, if you guys heard that, it's my grandma's watching a video. So, I know I'm not big on Sonic X. It's okay in my opinion, but I can see the character designs, and I guess it's because it's very similar to the game, I guess. And Kirby right back at you, it just wasn't my thing. Because I've been annoyed by it by someone I know from school, Jacob, who was like obsessed with this show, which just kind of bothers me about it. But Kirby is adorable. I have never played the Kirby games, but I will admit Kirby is adorable. Battle tornadoes. I mean, I don't know. I think Sonic X and Kirby might fit into this universe rather than the non-Disney universe. Unless people are going to be thinking, but isn't this non-Disney heroes versus villains? No. It's basically its own thing rather than being non-Disney. Yes, these are characters not made by Disney, but it's not really non-Disney heroes versus villains. Or non-Disney heroes versus villains 2.0. It's basically its own thing. Mirror Florida just made it because it's basically for all the wars that were not used in wars. Particularly the non-Disney ones. And if you wonder about Mighty Max, he just didn't realize Mighty Max was already a non-Disney Villains tournament before he put it in the worst Villains tournament ever. Whoopsie! I guess it's the same thing with both Wishmaster and Underworld series, but those were in non-Disney Villains tournament. You know, Underworld, basically the vampires and werewolves fight, or Vikings versus vampires, which I would think that's probably a much better film than Twilight series. So I would probably say this universe is in the far edge of the non-Disney universe, in my opinion, that is. I mean, I didn't ask if he's sure there's not going to be any. I think there are some other Disney characters that were not used in any Disney related wars either. I could probably name those, which I probably know a perfect place where I can list them from, so I'll catch up with that. Looks like Kirby wins. Along these two I've been watching. Okay, next fight is Sonic versus the Koopalings. Sonic is still in prison in King Koopa's castle. Well, where else would he be at? Disneyland? When Cutie Pie and Cheatsy lied to Sonic that they want to release him. Nothing suspicious. Not to do anything suspicious tricks, of course. But Sonic knows that the jig is up. What's with the what's under the paper? The list. So they released him, and Sonic just speeds out. Screw you guys, I'm going home. Eric Cartman reference. But I do question, are we going to get South Park in Worst Heroes and Villains War ever? I'm not sure if you are or not. Or would you just think it's just too weird? Like, way, way, way too weird. Yeah, even though I'm not big on the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, I think I prefer the YouTube poops of the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog than the original one. I mean, if you don't know what YouTube poops are, they're memes. You know, meme. And they're really hilarious. And you can see they're very trippy, but you can tell there is art to it. And I just love YouTube poop videos. And my favorite YouTube poop series would be the Frollo Show. And I'll leave the link down below. Oh, and Sonic wins. The next fight is Link versus Skullmaster. Zelda wants Link to help her to get to the Palace of Power back for N Team. But then they run into Skullmaster. Again, use the audio just to be safe. But yeah, a monster is a good definition to say what he is. Yeah, Skullmaster is not pleased by Link's attacks and wants to have a little fun with him, the hero of Hyrule. Well, during his visit, or during his trip. Okay, back when I was a little kid, I only seen like the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, and I know they mostly make a special ad of this cartoon of The Legend of Zelda. Yeah, it's just too weird for me. Oh, speaking of YouTube poops, are we gonna get I forgot that dude's name, Morshu or something? He was like, ropes, bombs, you want it? You name it. As long as you have enough rubies. I just hope we do see that dude in there. Like, it'd be funny to see him in there. You know, just for the sake of that, you know. Instead of using the link from that weird Zelda game, like, gee, sure is boring around here. Just use the excuse me, princess, as if they're like actually talking to each other. Sorry, rambling. They thought they won, but it turns out Skullmaster is still around. Sykes! Now they gotta run away! Okay, then next fight, Mangyu Chifusa versus Vulcan the Dark One. Okay, in the Middle Ages, at the timeline that is, I mean, interesting that this war is using timelines and time travels. Chifusa and Kaede have just started their quest while stopping for a drink. Drinking a drink of water. Of course, there's no sodas in these time periods. But then Chifusa is confronted by Vulcan the Dark, who wants her to tell her the location of Melfa so she can be captured for rebelling against the Royal Knights. But she's a lot more agile against this guy. I still have not seen Queen's Blade that much. I only know the characters. Mostly from this tournament and the lore of it, that is. I think that's Kaede. Okay, next one is Odysseus versus Diane. The seven deadly sins, serpent sin of envy. Odysseus with his crew have arrived to Middle Ages by using the Pillars of Time. Went from ancient Greece to their time, all the way to the Middle Ages. But have seemingly crashed to an unknown shore, with Odysseus and with the rest of his men, and one of them being a woman, walking in the middle of the island and a sleeping giant girl, which they woke her up. Yeah, Diane is kind of a lover girl of Meliodas, but she's very empathy. Yeah, she basically is a giant, but she gets so jealous that Meliodas is only interested in Elizabeth rather than her. But she wants to be the one that gets perviewed by Meliodas rather than Elizabeth. Yeesh. But I think she learned to let her go. I mean, let him go. So now she's with Keen. You know, Keen of the Fairies, the one I was telling you about, the bear sin of sloth. Oh, shot her right in the eye. With an arrow. Well, that ought to hurt. Basically, a hero versus hero fight. I'm gonna guess that owl belongs to Athena. He looks like a hippie. That dude was like panicking. So, yeah, this girl, I don't know who her name is, but she calms her down. So they're starting to warm up to each other, you know, being friends. Starting their friendship. So Deanne decides to help them out. Well, looks like all things went well. Okay, I'm going to stop right here, and that was pretty good. So far. Still pretty good.